lavender spray and sauna and sportswear preparing for Formula One cars. For Daniel Ricciardo, Christmas Day was more about intensity than indulgence. The Formula One driver spent December 25th locked in quarantine with his personal trainer, Italiano, pumping iron and working hard on the spin bike. The two men, who have known each other since they were 12, had not been home for 2 years because of the pandemic, so the 14 days they had to spend in a hotel in Perth, Western Australia, after the post-season test in Abu Dhabi were worth it. Their parents dropped off food on Christmas Day, with a full reunion with friends and family taking place a few days later. Italiano joined Ricciardo's team at the end of 2017 after the McLaren driver, then with Red Bull, parted with his trainer and messaged his old school friend to see if he wanted the job. He accepted and had 4 weeks to pack up his life, sell his car and move to Europe to be near Ricciardo, who is based in Monaco. Italiano picked London. At the end of the F1 season, Ricciardo, 32, would usually head off into the sunset and enjoy a well-earned break, spending some time apart from Italiano, so they were ready to resume again around January 10th. But COVID meant a change of plan was required. Entry into Australia requires a hotel quarantine for 2 weeks, so with interconnecting rooms, Italiano used the time to put together a training program for Ricciardo to keep him in shape and stave off the boredom. It got to a point in quarantine, literally after the first day, where we were twiddling our thumbs and I thought, hang on, we need to kill time and get hold of some gym equipment, Italiano said. So I hired a spin bike and I got my mum to bring my kettlebells from my house to the hotel and also some TRX straps, and we had his neck harness with us. We trained every day as a way to kill 2 hours. I hadn't planned for that training, so Daniel actually stayed in pretty good nick. There was also downtime during that fortnight together, devouring the Amazon Prime drama Why every night, as well as eating breakfast, lunch and dinner together, with Italiano's girlfriend also in isolation with them, the couple having flown in together. It is no wonder that the pair, despite being 10 minutes apart from each other in Perth, chose not to speak or meet up when they were released from isolation until it was time to start training again. This also gave Italiano time to return to his love of working with clients on transformative programs, which he does through his own company, MI Coaching, when not at races. As a result of those 2 additional weeks of work, Italiano started pre-season training a week later than normal. With its resumption, he has been making the most of the 30-degree heat on the west coast of Australia, getting Ricciardo on training runs to help him acclimatize for the first couple of races in the Middle East. This morning we did some interval running, which can be something like 800-meter repeats, or sometimes 400 meters, Italiano said. It was really tough this morning. We're really starting to ramp it up a little bit, but it's nice, because we're in the sun and then in the afternoon we do strength work in the gym. We are usually focusing on the posterior chain, that being the back of your body, so your calves, glutes, hamstrings, lower back and upper back, because most of the braking loads go through your calves, glutes and hamstring. There is also a lot of core work because they're fighting the car with their hips, so the core has to be really strong. And then the obvious one is neck training. The driver's neck takes a lot of the G-force that the car experiences through turning and braking. For a sport which spends most of its time chasing the sunshine, heat acclimatization is key. Italiano explains how studies have shown this to be possible in 10 days. I ask if this can also apply to footballers, thinking ahead to the World Cup in Qatar at the end of the year. 100%. And I'd be very surprised if teams are not doing this, he said. You can do things like sauna sessions, and putting on a tracksuit, and going for a run or going to the gym with the heaters on. It's about getting used to that uncomfortable environment of it being really hot. In F1, it's so hot because they are sitting in this little cockpit, with fireproof overalls on, right in front of the engine, so they're already really hot and the asphalt is about 50 degrees, so in training we have to find ways to deal with that. The mental side is as important as the physical and, says Italiano, thankfully Daniel is a big believer in training the brain and mental resilience. He adds, we have a rule on Wednesdays and you can vent whatever is bothering you before a race weekend or if you have to get something off your chest. Then, on Thursday, it's full focus on the race. Italiano is also in charge of Ricciardo's diet and sleep. With the Australian, who is heading into his 12th season in F1, Italiano says that he does not have to be so strict in tracking what he eats. I can trust him, he's a senior driver, so I don't need a stranglehold on his nutrition too much as he knows what he needs to eat and not eat, Italiano explained. On race weekends I'm more strict, as it's about portions and specific meals and timings, because I know what he needs to perform. With F1 traversing the globe with a record 23 races this season, starting on March 20th in Bahrain, the ability to track sleep will be crucial. Italiano uses an app called Time Shift for fighting jet lag, which talks through the basics of adjusting to different time zones, such as when to have caffeine, when to sleep and not sleep, and when you should, or shouldn't, be exposed to light, or at least wear sunglasses to limit it. To make sure it is working, Italiano has given Ricciardo an Aura ring. Made by a technology company from Finland, it tracks sleep and daily activity, and Italiano has chosen that over a watch as he swears by its accuracy. These little percentages here and there can really add up, he says. A memory foam pillow and a lavender spray travel with them, as the familiarity can make you think of home when you use it there and then when you're away, and it helps. Every base is covered. There is little Italiano doesn't know about his charge. After 6 weeks in Australia, the pair are both due in the UK this week, with Ricciardo required at McLaren's headquarters in Woking, Surrey, for marketing purposes and simulator work. When he asks what the weather is like here, I apologize as I explain that it's near freezing, which is met with a grimace and a mental note to pack a big jacket. Ricciardo is not a fan of the cold, Italiano says, and that is where he is needed for motivation to get him training. I try to be the boss, Italiano laughs, but I do get bossed around, but working with him is really fun. He's a very bubbly guy, and I'm quite bubbly myself, so the energy is great. With pre-season training well underway and a long season ahead, that energy is going to be needed. Want to try working out like Ricciardo? Follow these 6 steps. Sumo Deadlift Cue. Set a wide stance, with your toes pointing out. Grip the bar shoulder width apart and push your knees out. Drive the bar up by pushing through your feet, keeping tension in your quads and glutes while maintaining a neutral spine and keeping your chest up. Extend the hip and knee joints simultaneously and complete the lift in a full lockout at the top. Benefit: this exercise engages all the major muscle groups. It is particularly effective for glute and quad strength and development. Kneeling pull-off press cue. Engage your core and press the handle out with both hands so your arms are fully extended in front of your chest. Hold the position, keeping tension in your core and glutes, resisting the pull of the cable and not letting your torso rotate. Bring the handle back into your chest and repeat. Benefit: this anti-rotation hold exercise will strengthen and develop a stable and strong core. 6-way shoulder raise cue. Maintaining a neutral spine, raise the dumbbells laterally to shoulder height, then bring them out in front of you, maintaining straight arms to shoulder height. Continue by driving the dumbbells above your head and following your traces back to the starting position. Benefit: improving overall shoulder strength, developing stabilization. This exercise hits all 3 heads of the shoulder. Farmer's walk cue. Engage the core and pull your shoulder blades down and back while standing nice and tall, keeping an upright posture. Begin walking in a controlled manner, maintaining tension through the core and keeping the chest up. Benefit: overall full body and core strength. Rope pull cue. Set your feet wide and square, lean back slightly and begin pulling the rope in a suitable rowing manner. Keep shoulders back and down, chest up, pulling to the outsides of your ribs with a neutral spine. Ensure you have sufficient weight loaded on the end of the rope. Benefit: improve upper back and core strength and overall conditioning. Sled push cue. Firmly grab the bars with both hands, with arms locked out. Keep your knees in line with your feet, and begin driving through your glutes and quads to push the sled forward. Keep your spine in a neutral position and your pelvis and torso stable. Benefit: full body workout involving the lower body and improving overall conditioning.